In the pantheon of Greek mythology, few heroes shone as brightly as Perseus. Son of the great Zeus and Princess Danae of Argos, he was destined for greatness, or rather, he was destined for hardship. You see, from the very moment of his birth, Perseus's life was marred by dark prophecies and trials crafted by the very hands of the gods. And yet, even as a boy, Perseus stood out with his radiant beauty, his strong physique, and a heart that burned with courage. People everywhere spoke of him as the embodiment of youthful strength, but he also bore the heavy burden of fate. And this story started one day when King Polydex, who lusted after Deianira and wanted to marry her, through a grand festival. Now, he was a cunning ruler, always looking for ways to advance his position. And he found the perfect opportunity when Perseus wasn't around. In front of his court, Polydex declared that what he desired most as a wedding gift was the severed head of Medusa, one of the 3 Gorgon sisters. These were monsters crowned with venomous snakes for hair. Their gaze could turn any living being into stone. And Medusa was easily the most fearsome of them all. Now, bound by pride and a burning will to protect his mother, young Perseus rose up and swore that he would bring back the head of Medusa. His words rang through the hall like thunder, sealing his fate. There was no turning back. Perseus was determined to fulfill his promise, but he also knew he could not face such a monster alone. So he went to Athena, the goddess of wisdom, who despised Medusa for her desecration of a temple long ago. And she appeared before him, promising her aid. She gifted him a shield shining and polished to perfection. Its mirror-like surface would allow him to view Medusa without meeting her gaze, for that would turn him to stone. It was an invaluable aid in his quest. But to truly stand a chance against the Gorgon, Perseus needed more. He sought out Hermes, the swift messenger of Zeus, who took pity on the young hero, and gave him a gleaming sword, sharp as lightning, and strong enough to slice through Medusa's serpent crown. And then Perseus went off on his quest, traveling the world to find Medusa's lair. But to get there, he needed directions, and those were known only to the Greeks, 3 ancient sisters who shared 1 eye and 1 tooth among them. Perseus found them in a shadowy cave far to the north. They were frail, silver-haired crones, their bony hands trembling as they passed their single eye from one to another. Waiting patiently, Perseus observed them, watching for the right moment. Then, with a swift leap, he snatched the eye from their grasp, leaving the sisters shrieking in terror and blind desperation. "Return it to us," they howled. But Perseus was firm. "I will return it," he said. "But first you must tell me the way to the nymphs who guard the treasures I need to slay the Medusa." Powerless, the Greeks divulged the secret path, and Perseus released the eye, departing with his prize of knowledge. He traveled until he came across the nymphs, who lived deep within a cave hidden behind a veil of mist. When they heard of Perseus's quest, the nymphs, filled with admiration for his bravery, bestowed upon him 3 sacred gifts. The first was the Cabizes, a magical pouch that could hold the head of Medusa without harm. Next, there were the winged sandals, which allowed him to fly over land and sea. Finally, there was the Helm of Darkness, belonging to Hades, which would cloak him in invisibility when danger struck. With these gifts secured, Perseus felt a surge of gratitude and determination. Now fully armed, he was ready to face the horror of Medusa. After many days of travel, he finally found Medusa dwelling with her immortal sisters, Steno and Euryale. In a desolate wasteland littered with the stone husks of those who had dared approach, the air reeked of death. The wind howled with the ghostly cries of the petrified, his winged sandals carrying him silently. Perseus approached their lair. In his polished shield, he saw her reflection, writhing snakes for hair, eyes glowing with murderous fire, a visage of doom. He dared not look directly at her. Instead, with precision guided by Athena and Hermes, he raised his sword and struck. Thunder seemed to split the heavens as Medusa's head was severed. Her blood sprayed crimson upon the cursed soil. From her spilled blood sprang 2 miraculous beings, Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, the mighty warrior, both born of Poseidon's union with Medusa. Quickly, Perseus tucked the head into the Cabizes. The Gorgon's immortal sisters roared in grief and fury, charging with inhuman rage. But Perseus vanished beneath the helm, soaring skyward, his prize secured. As he flew, strange things happened below him. In Libya, drops of Medusa's blood fell to the sand, spawning deadly serpents that slithered across the desert. In other places, the severed heads gazed turned beasts to stone, leaving bizarre rock formations as eternal monuments to Perseus's path. But the greatest trial came when he reached Ethiopia. Their princess Andromeda was chained to a cliff by the sea. She was sacrificed to a sea monster sent by Poseidon to punish her people for their arrogance. Perseus, witnessing her plight, couldn't bear to look away. Descending from the skies, he saw a princess of unparalleled beauty, tears streaming down her face. Hope flickered in her eyes as she looked up at her savior. Without hesitation, Perseus plunged into battle. The waves thundered as the beast surged upward. Perseus pulled forth the Cabezes and unveiled Medusa's head. The petrifying gaze froze the beast mid-attack. Its massive body hardened into stone before sinking into the sea's depths. With the monster slain, Perseus approached the cliff. The people of Ethiopia, overjoyed, erupted in cheers. King Cepheus descended from his tower, disbelief etched on his face, disbelief that the monster was gone, that their doom had been averted. Perseus stepped forward, and in a voice that resonated with kindness, explained what had transpired. Touched by the hero's valor and moved by his compassion for Andromeda, King Cepheus readily agreed to give his daughter's hand in marriage to Perseus. Love blossomed between the hero and the princess, a bond that promised solace and companionship after a life of perilous adventure. Then Perseus set out on his return journey, his heart lighter, knowing that somewhere a maiden awaited his return, a beacon of love amidst the turmoil of his existence. Upon his return home, Perseus was greeted by jeers and mockery from King Pylades, who still held resentment over Perseus's defiance. Undeterred, Perseus strode calmly into the hall. Ignoring Pylades' taunts, he declared, "You wish to see the head of Medusa? Behold, I have brought it." As he drew forth the head, a hush fell over the hall. Pylades and all his conspirators froze into statues, their faces twisted in terror, their reign ended by their own malice. Danae was freed from the tyrant's grasp, and Perseus stood not just as her protector but as a hero immortalized in legend, his deeds echoing through time, becoming a timeless narrative of courage and resilience. Sometime later, Perseus presented the Gorgon's head to Athena. The goddess was pleased and mounted it upon her shield, the aegis, turning it into an eternal weapon of dread and awe. And so, the tale of Perseus, son of Zeus, came to an end, or perhaps it was just beginning, for the memory of his courage, his resourcefulness, and unwavering determination continued to echo through the ages, inspiring awe and wonder in those who heard his legendary tale. To the Greeks, Perseus represented the eternal truth. Though mortals are small before the gods, a resolute heart and clever mind can bend destiny itself. This has been the myth of Perseus. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to hear more of these stories. And until next time, may the blessings of the gods be with you.